All ERP and digital transformation projects are unique, but they all fail for similar reasons. My name is Marcus Harris. I'm a software and technology attorney. I focus my practice on drafting ERP-related contracts and litigating ERP failures in courts across the country. So studies show that 70 to 75% of all ERP digital transformations result in failure. And I think certainly, you can debate the study methodology, how they define success, but the reality is that the cards are stacked against you. The likelihood that your ERP project is going to be over budget, that it's going to take longer than you realize, that it is going to cost more than expected, and that you're going to realize all the business benefits that you expect, all of those are certainly going to be uncertain. And the real question is why? And in the lawsuits that we've litigated over the years, the reasons why are all incredibly similar, and each one of these disputes follows a similar path. Most of these disputes have the following issues in common. Usually there is a resistance to change. There is a lack of executive buy-in. There are unclear project requirements on the side of the customer that's implementing the software. There's almost always an inability to empower the project team to make decisions or to make those decisions quickly. What we have been seeing more often in the last, I'd say 5 to 6, 7 years, really is software vendors that are misrepresenting the particular software or the software functionality. And the allegations that are resulting from that are the customer claims that the software simply doesn't work. I think we typically would see those types of allegations in a variety of lawsuits. They didn't always pan out, but with the rush to the cloud and kind of what I would call cloud evangelism, with half-baked cloud products that don't really incorporate all the functionality maybe that the on-prem system did. The rise of, say, agile software methodology, all of these things kind of contribute to the rise in allegations of misrepresented software functionality and allegations that the software just does not work as was represented in the software demonstrations. Some of the other things that we see that contribute to ERP failure are really having inexperienced teams, I would say both on the vendor side with respect to implementing, integrating, and understanding the cloud functionality that has been licensed or acquired. And at the same token, we'll also see, and this is actually relatively common, inexperienced customer teams that don't understand the functionality, they don't understand the software, the customer doesn't make the effort to obtain experienced consultants or experienced project managers to put in its team. One of the other substantive issues that we will see in these lawsuits and these disputes really is, I think, internal and external misalignment. The customer is going to have certain expectations for how that project is going to unfold and what the end result of that project is going to be. But often, that expectation is misaligned with the vendor's expectation, or it's not even communicated to the vendor. So there's just this internal misalignment within the customer base itself, or the customer rather, and a misalignment of expectations with the vendor because those expectations were not communicated. One of the other things that we see in these disputes and lawsuits is customers that lead with a technology-first mentality. They're seduced, if you will, by flashy software demonstrations. They're seduced by how the software works, the efficiencies, new technology, artificial intelligence, whatever it is. And I think this is incredibly problematic because point of fact, technology should not be dictating how you run your business. How you run your business should be dictating what technology you need to acquire, and that's very important. One of the other elements that we see that contributes to failures and lawsuits and disputes is this false sense of urgency that vendors will place on their customers. Vendors like to use time-based pressure to sign the contract with illusory deadlines, massive discounts off of list that are going to suddenly disappear if the customer doesn't sign by a drop dead date. And while look, I think some of that is real, and some of those discounts may disappear. it's very unusual in my career that I've seen a software vendor not offer a discount that's substantially similar to the one that they offered before. Software salespeople need to make their numbers. They've got quotas, and if you've got a discount today, the likelihood that you're going to have a similar discount tomorrow is pretty high. And I don't think you need to worry about this false sense of security, or false sense of urgency rather, that these guys will place on you. I think one of the other things that contributes to failure and that you really need to be aware of as you're going into these kinds of projects is, the onus is really on the customer, right? To redesign their business to be able to utilize whatever software product that they are licensing. They've got to understand the functionality gaps. They've got to understand the business requirements. And while that seems fundamental and it seems common sense, the reality is that a lot of these software vendors and software integrators will say, well, don't worry about that, customer, that's our job, and we will take that on for you. But if you're giving someone else the keys to drive the car, the likelihood that you're going to end up in a ditch, I think, is really high, and that is a serious contributor to failure that we see on a pretty consistent basis. If your ERP project is going sideways or having difficulty with your implementation, feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you about what your options are and get you headed on the right track.